Welcome everyone. Today we will be hacking some PlayStations. So I've been very excited to present this here. Let's get to it. So my name is Aapo. Work in IoT cybersecurity consulting. Run this small boutique cybersecurity company in Finland called Juuren Oy. And what we do is hack devices. And me personally, I work a lot with cryptography, network protocols, and things like that. I'm also a bug bounty hunter, so I hunt for bugs on my free time and try to make some money out of that. I also do vulnerability research, which is basically the same thing, but kind of more in-depth and trying to actually do some things that haven't been done before. So I could call myself a hacker. So I am a hacker, but I wasn't always a hacker, or at least like I haven't been calling myself a hacker for that long. So when I was younger, I loved playing around with computers. So just kind of using them for playing games, browsing the internet, like doing all kinds of things that you do with computers. But also, if it tries to restrict me some way, I need to bypass that. I want to do everything. I just want to know everything about computers. I also love setting up a home network. So kind of getting a new router and plugging it in and putting your computers and playing around with IP addresses and DNS and everything. And when I was kind of young, it was really hard, and it's still really hard. When you get a new router, it's either it works or it doesn't. It might take a couple of days of getting everything working. I also love tinkering with devices. So having something in my hands, like something tangible, for me, it's a little bit different from software. So I love something that I can hold more than something that's inside of the computer or in the internet. And when I kind of have something in my hand, like a radio, and just kind of pressing all the buttons, and especially if there's a button, I need to press it. So sometimes I go to an elevator and just press all the buttons, and then it takes me 10 minutes to get where I want. But if I have something that I can press, there's something behind that. There's something inside of it. And I love taking things apart. So if it's a device, I just open it. And sometimes if I open it, it might break. And this was something that my parents discovered when I was young, that I like to take things apart and break things. So what they did, that they brought me some broken electronics from their work. Like they just went to the IT and said like, hey, give us everything that's broken. And so that's why I had this pile of things. And I just kind of started taking everything apart. And at some point I realized that if I take it apart and put it back together, it still works. And if it's broken and I take it apart and put it back together, it starts working. So I kind of love fixing things. And all these kind of things. So I love playing around with computers and networks and devices and taking things apart and putting them back together. So when I think back, I think like I have always been a hacker. So these are the things that hackers do. I kind of didn't realize it at the time, but now I kind of look back, I really think I've always been a hacker with this hacker mindset. And yeah, like cybersecurity and hacking, like I've been doing that a long time. So I go way back with security things. And one of the things that I remember, I've been always watching DEF CON videos or any cybersecurity conference videos. The nice thing about DEF CON is that they have a large archive, like going back decades of research, Just like if you haven't seen this, you just go there, spend 2 weeks just watching everything and reading everything. That's so awesome. You can also just go YouTube and search for these, and these are, I think, the most viewed videos on DEF CON YouTube. So one of them from 4 weeks ago, an awesome video about the FBI's secret operation for the encrypted phones. So they basically gave some phones to criminals and then put them to prison. But also there's the second most viewed video is from 10 years ago. So these awesome people hacking elevators. And this is something that I kind of really like to watch, new stuff, but also old stuff. And I remember when this came out, I think I watched it like on YouTube or somewhere when it came out. And that was an awesome video about people doing hacking. And I think 15 years ago, there was this video from Moxie Marlingspike. So some tricks for defeating SSL. And I think this video really got to me when I was kind of young and watching this content, is that you have something that's like you don't understand. And then someone explains to you that it's not that complicated. There's just many parts to it. So it does things, a lot of different things, but any one of those things is relatively simple. And that kind of, I really like that idea. That if you want to work with something or you want to kind of tinker or hack something, it's not that complicated if you kind of understand how the system works and you look at one of the parts. So any single part of any system can be kind of understood, and it's quite simple. And for me, now working in IoT, so Internet of Things, and kind of why do I work in IoT? So all of the things that I said that I love, and all of the things that I've been looking at these videos, is that there are so many different things going on. And IoT, it has everything. So IoT, it's computers. Some of them are like fully blown Windows or Linux machines. Some of them are really small and they don't do that much, but they are all computers. And I love playing around with computers and different kind of computers. The Internet of Things. So they are connected to a network. And they do all the things that kind of normal computers do on a network. And I love tinkering with networks. They are devices, so Internet of Things. And I love playing around with devices. I love having something in my hand that I can work with. I can understand it. And many times they are cheap enough to take apart. So I love taking things apart, and IoT is something that I can do it. I can go to like some store in Akihabara or wherever, buy something for pocket change, and it's a thing that connects to the internet and does things. And if I break it, then I can try to fix it. But if I can, then I can just buy a new one. But most of the times, these devices are simple enough to fix. So there's not that many components, and you can understand them. Or you can understand a single part of it if you spend enough time. And I think that makes IoT very hackable. So there are so many different things that you can do. But of course, it might be overwhelming. So there's just too many different things, and you cannot know everything. Like nobody can know everything. But if you take one part of this system and look at it, then you can understand that. So IoT, Internet of Things, it's devices communicating over networks. And this is kind of the one thing that I find very critical. Like it's in the name, it's internet. So I've been looking at the kind of network a lot. So a network or network protocols, basically you're transferring data from one computer to another. So there's some kind of connection. It might be a wire, it might be wireless, but it's kind of a connection. And the server might be on the other side of the world, and IoT, like you are using IoT devices to send more and more sensitive data over the network. So there's bound to be someone between you and the kind of other side of the world that might want to hack that data. They might want to get access to it. And that's why if you're using IoT or anything in the internet, you need encryption. And if you encrypt the data and the server decrypts it, there's no way anyone can do anything. So how do you actually encrypt network data? So there is this thing called TLS, Transport Layer Security. And if you don't know what that is, it's basically the S in HTTPS. So HTTP is unencrypted, and HTTPS means HTTP over TLS. So even if you don't think you're using TLS, you might be using it. A lot of communication encryption protocols, they either are TLS, or they're based on or on top of TLS, or they're very similar. And yeah, TLS, so you connect to a remote computer and you exchange encryption keys. So you kind of just connect normally, and then you do the encryption. And you can do this with any remote computer. So what you want to do is after you have the encryption, you want to check that you connected to the right place. Because if you don't check it, like you can be connected to anywhere. So if you encrypt connection between you and an attacker, you will then send the data to them instead of where you wanted. And once you verify that everything is on order, you can send any data through that connection. And that's a very powerful thing. You have this very simple protocol, and it just works. And it's kind of the de facto standard, and it's a proven technology. Everybody uses it, and it works. There's nothing kind of that can go wrong. It's so simple. It's only kind of two things that you need to do properly, and people have been using this for decades. So nothing can go wrong with this. But can I somehow hack it? Like I'm attacking IoT, it's connecting to a network, and it uses TLS. So could I somehow hack TLS? And for me, when I kind of was asked this question doing penetration testing for IoT devices, of course, what I did is I went to DEF CON. I went to the DEF CON archives. I remember that I've seen someone hack TLS and post a video about it. And it was this Moxie Marlin spike, I think 15 years ago, kind of more tricks for defeating TLS. It was called SSL back then, but it's basically TLS. And 15 years ago, it was more tricks. So Moxie has been doing this for, I think, 20 years. 22 years ago, he released some really good things. And of course, these have been fixed. These have been fixed for 15 years. But can these still work? That was my question that I asked. Can I use these vulnerabilities now? And like I said, I'm a bug bounty hunter, and I try to hunt for vulnerabilities. And I've done that a lot for IoT. So I spend a lot of time looking at IoT devices. That means I spend a lot of time looking at TLS, because that's what they do. And what surprised me is that I found so many issues using these decades-old techniques. And I was surprised. Like, why do these keep working? Why? It has been 15 years. Why? And I think my answer to this, looking back, is that there are no tools to use these techniques. And if you have a tool, it will do only one thing, and they are not kind of made to hack or like test for this. They are meant to just exploit, and if it doesn't work, everything breaks. So it's very hard to use those tools. So I did a lot of things manually, and I spent a lot of time kind of recreating these techniques. And then kind of I found the vulnerabilities. So I started to create a tool. So I created this tool called CertMitem. And it's completely based on the TLS attacks shown at DEF CON 15 years ago. And yeah, I tested it against bug bounty targets. And kind of just over the years of creating it, I kind of improved, and it's quite usable right now. And you can, of course, find CertMitem in GitHub, but how it works is that every time you connect to the internet through CertMitem, so if you use this tool to try to hack the connections, it will basically try out one by one all of the different things that could go wrong. And if it doesn't work, then it will kind of pass the connection on, and it will just try to keep everything working, but it will just keep on trying and trying and trying. And it will try until it either finds a problem or it doesn't, and then it will move on testing new things. So the purpose of this tool is to be able to test for all of the different things that could go wrong. And currently, so I found 200 vulnerable applications with this tool. So anything that you connect to this, I found. So Android, iOS, Windows, Mac, IoT, there's kind of a lot of things that I found. So kind of just like ATMs, trying to kind of withdraw money, then just plug the ATM into CertMitem, and it will hack it. And I can push out money. I've hacked things that I cannot talk about here because it was customer work and very important stuff. Some of them are not that interesting. They're kind of fun games or something that you can do something small. But also, out of those 200, half of them have not been fixed. So if you're using CertMitem, there's 100 different things that you can hack with it. And I've been using it in bug bounty. I've made $200,000 in bug bounties. So this is kind of important stuff. And of course, now a lot of people are using this tool to hack everything, and I really like it. And every week, something new is found. And the issues, well, they are kind of implementation issues. So someone has disabled certificate validation, or someone is using libraries incorrectly, and that's kind of the bulk of it. So the TLS libraries seem to work really well. So the TLS kind of code is working, but the actual kind of the problems are that someone has done something kind of stupid. And I've been talking about this at conferences. So let's see.
So for a brief time, you could just have your own certificate and sign anything with it. But yeah, this was a long time ago.
We want secure connections. Why would we not want secure connections? And of course, as we talked here earlier, browsers, they want secure connections, and they are checking the certificates.
The problems are in the libraries and how you use them. And the libraries currently, they have got some work, so you can use the libraries securely nowadays.
But however, currently the libraries work quite well. So there are some problems, but not that much. Yes, and so I've talked at 4 conferences and I've said that currently the libraries work quite well. And kind of it should be the case because problems have been around for 20 years and they have been fixed for 15 years. So the libraries should work. And this is kind of documentation for Moxie Marlin Spikes, the SSL sniff attack. And it says that you probably need something before 2002 for these attacks to work, because they shouldn't work. And that was kind of the purpose why he released the tools, so these problems wouldn't happen again. And this problem, so let's see what Moxie presented.
So what is to stop me from doing this? Creating another certificate for some other website, paypal.com, and then signing it with my leaf certificate.
So this was the problem, that certificates work in a way that you have a kind of CA, certificate authority, and that gives you a certificate for your website. So Moxie's website, thoughtcrime.org, so he got a certificate for that website. But you can also create more certificates from the ones that you already have. And the problem was that he created a certificate for paypal.com. So it's created by Moxie, but it still works. And the kind of that was the problem in the libraries, that they didn't check who really made this certificate. And so it means that you can kind of create a certificate for any website, so you can intercept everything, because it cannot, like, the client cannot check if it's connected to the correct place, because it will always think that it's connected to the correct place. And kind of currently the libraries work quite well is mostly the case. But when I'm kind of creating this tool, I know that the past problems tend to repeat. So I want thorough testing, and that's why CertMitim includes tests for everything that I think could be a problem. And I know this was a problem, and someday it will come again. And I've had this there, I think it was there for over a year. And that test it never worked against anything. So just when I was about to release CertMitim at DEF CON, I started to record demos. So DEF CON, you need to have a demo. So you need to have something to show that, hey, this is how you hack. And I had found a vulnerability in a PlayStation game kind of a year earlier. But I didn't own a PS5, so I wanted to record the demo, and I loaned a PS5 from a friend week before DEF CON, so week before I released this, and started to record the demo. And then something strange happened. And this is kind of nesting. Here's a video of me recording that demo. So I have CertMitim running on the bottom. There's a PlayStation 5 on the top right corner, and on the top left, if you see something there, that means that we've hacked the thing that we're kind of working with. And if there's red on the bottom, that means a very bad thing. I've cracked the encryption. And I'm not even in the game yet that I know it's vulnerable. Just by connecting a PlayStation to CertMitim, I can intercept so many different things. And I was like, this is not supposed to happen. And I'm kind of looking at like, what is happening? Why am I hacking a PlayStation? And it turns out that this test that I put there, that has kind of, it didn't find anything for a year because it's not supposed to find anything. It's supposed to be fixed on everything. But still I get these red things here and I'm getting the connections, and on the top left you can see it's just data flowing, and I'm intercepting that data, and I'm not supposed to be. I'm not supposed to be able to do it. So this was a very big oops. I could decrypt most of the TLS connections made by either PS4 or PS5. And this was completely by accident. Or we'll get back to that later. So I could see your passwords, your account tokens, your game data, and even some kind of the operating system data. And like if I have your password, I can take over your account. If I have the game data, I can change it. I can do cheats. And I could even kind of create a jailbreak because there's so many things that I have access to. I need to just find some small problems and hack it. And how this works is that kind of some connections are not hackable. So they only trust Sony's certificates. So this attack doesn't work against them, but most of the connections kind of can be intercepted. And this is a critical vulnerability. I can do so many different things, and I submitted this as a bug bounty report, and they paid me 50,000 USD. It's a very critical thing, and kind of the problem there was that they had a library, they're like libhttp, and it does not check if the certificate has been issued by a CA or if it's issued by kind of my server. So kind of the technical thing here is that it doesn't check for the CA equals true basic constraint. And you can go back to kind of Moxie's presentation why this is kind of a problem and more technical details. But what I want kind of you to kind of understand here is that basically every PS5 encrypted connection can be decrypted. And yeah, some of them can't, but most of them can. And that's a kind of really interesting thing. And yeah, so I can take my Let's Encrypt certificate, so my certmitim.com website certificate, and I can issue new certificates for PlayStation.net or anything that it wants. I can just say, here's a certificate for you. And I'm not even doing this. It's just kind of certmitim is doing this automatically, and I just put this test there. And this was the first time that this test worked. And I haven't seen this since. So this is kind of a very minor problem that is very rare. And also, I kind of a little bit think like, why has no one found this? Like, well, of course, nobody has been kind of looking for it. I'm not really sure how long it was there, but kind of nobody has been looking at this, and that's why kind of I was kind of pleasantly surprised. So yeah, so I reported it to PlayStation August 4th. It was triage, so the program kind of see that, hey, this is a problem, we need to start working on it. So that was August 7th. August 11th, which is a Thursday, they said that, hey, the vulnerability has been patched, and these are the software versions where it's patched, and these are being now publicly released. What they did at the same time is that they pushed like a forced update globally. So all the PS5s that if you're not running the 7.61 and you're connecting to the internet, it will refuse to work. It will say, hey, update necessary. You cannot play games before you update, because it's a critical vulnerability. Like And that's why if your PS5 has been connected to the internet in the past year, then like it has been updated. And if you're trying to recreate this vulnerability, sometimes you have to be really careful not to let your PS5 know that there is an update. Because after that, it's game over. It will kind of lock itself down and it will not do anything except update. And that is not hackable with this attack. And yeah, August 11 was also the day that I released the tool, which might have had something to do with the quick update schedule. I'm sorry for anyone if they had to kind of stay late fixing this. But yeah, this was just, I just happened to come across this 1 week before I released. And there's this is from my DEF CON talk.
So I think kind of telling them that you are going to DEF CON to talk about the tool really helps motivate developers to create some fixes.
Yes. So if you kind of tell someone that, hey, in a week I will be telling everyone about this on one of the biggest cybersecurity stages, things will get fixed. And here is, like, if you now use CertMitim against the PlayStation, so previously there was the red thing, but now you boot, it doesn't find anything. So now everything is back to normal and good, that you cannot hack PlayStation with this tool. And of course, it's a little bit sad thing, like when you're kind of creating these hacks and then you get something to hack and then it's fixed. So it's mixed feelings. I like that it's not vulnerable, but I don't like that I cannot hack it anymore. But yeah, then that's why you kind of get the bounties. But also this was the kind of a really big thing, what happened. So there was a lot of things written about, like, and this is now the first time that this has been publicly kind of released, what the hack was. But there were so many kind of articles and like, hey, PlayStation has been hacked, and kind of people wondering how it was hacked. But also they very early on, kind of someone wrote that, hey, there's this Aapo, and he released this tool that hacks kind of encrypted connections, and if this tool would hack PlayStation, it would be a critical vulnerability, so most likely it was this tool, and here's a link to the tool. And I've been getting so many messages like, why no jailbreak? Why don't you release the hack? But I did. It's on the internet, and someone on the internet says, like, this is the tool, just use it. But that's also the problem, that people are not using these tools. They are not kind of, and I don't really know why. Maybe people think that everything has been fixed. There's no way you can do any hacks with this anymore. But for me, it was like 15 years old tools, and they worked. And CertMitim, it's like a 1-year-old tool, but it still works. And a lot of tools work. And this was a comment someone made somewhere, that you either have to be very lucky or output a god's level of work. But this is, like, I'm not saying, like, I don't think it's luck, and I don't think it's that hard. So what I do is when I try to hack someone something, I see what kind of things could go wrong, what kind of things there are, and then just search at DEF CON, see a 10-year-old video, and just try it out. Like, it's not that they explain very carefully like what you need to do and how to hack, and then sometimes they even have the tool. Just download it and run it. And sometimes it's not that easy, but if you have a couple of days, then just try it. Employ known attacks, exploit common weaknesses, profit. With CertMitim, it's like known attacks from the past 20 years, kind of not that common weaknesses, so people didn't know it's a common weakness, and that's why it kind of created even more profit. And this is kind of the thing that I want you to kind of get from this talk. Like, you can hack a PlayStation with something that someone gave out for free 15 years ago. And nobody in the past 15 years has tried that. And I kind of understand also why. It's hard. It's something that scares you. It scared me. But that was my work, and I had to do it, and I had the time. So I tried these things, and they immediately worked. The first time I tried to hack TLS, I succeeded. The second time, I might not have, but the third time I succeeded again. So it's 2 out of 3 times this worked. And sometimes you, of course, might hit that nothing works. But if you have kind of so if you test for everything, you will find out that past problems tend to repeat. So that's why you really need to test for everything. And any kind of problem you can think of, just try it out, and you will get results. Test against everything. So being a huge platform like PlayStation does not make you immune to mistakes. Like, I've been talking so much about it. Hey, these libraries just work. Like, they are good. But still, I test against it. I test against everything. And I really love kind of creating tools, and I also love using tools. So sometimes I feel kind of a little bad, and you call these kind of usually young people in cyber, so you call them script kiddies. They're just children using other people's work. But that's why people are on the stage releasing this stuff for you to use. There's nothing wrong against using someone else's tools. And of course, if you are in a good position, you understand these problems very well, you can create these tools. You can create the automation, and especially if there's something that you know that, hey, this is a problem, someone released this at some conference, and the tool, there might be a tool or might not, but it's not automatic. Just automate it and see what happens. And yeah, so CertMitum exploits 10 to 20-year-old vulnerabilities. And I was kind of one of the first to kind of automate that, and I really like the tool. It's made to just test for everything against everything automatically. And this is kind of what I want you to kind of get out of this. So this is how I hacked PlayStation. And this is also how you can hack other things. And this is something that I just want to kind of get to you. Just go out there and try out things. And one of the things that you can try out, you can go out there and use is CertMitum. So that's one of the things, but please also go to security conferences, go to YouTube, just type in DEF CON and a thing that you love, and you can see someone hacking it. And you can do it too. So just go out there and hack some things. So thank you.